So leading your team into the holiday takes a kind of a different level of preparation. Again, anticipate your customers' needs. It's so important to just think about what your customers will want and how they're going to get there. Go over the website. Go over what your highest, moving product was the year before. Really be super anticipatory. You have all that information and it's at your disposal. Use it. If you're at a disadvantage or you're flying solo, you don't have that information, it's your first holiday, try and feel it out based on any of the information that you have. It's super important to anticipate your customers' needs. It'll save you some heartache down the road. Again, getting rid of side projects. You use the data from previous years to roadmap, and also revisiting the previous year's wins and losses are very important. Preparing the team, it's a little bit different. Morale boosting is very important right away. Again, I mentioned the macros in the chat, shortcuts, that's very important to get things going. You want to retrain, relearn the basics and go over everything that you think you know. Make sure you really do know it when you're moving forward. You definitely want to try and kind of get started off on a good foot by relearning the basics, get that morale up. And then also too, this is a good time to consider tapping other people in the company as flash support. And flash support is basically a call to arms. Anybody in our company at ManCrates is capable of taking live chats, and we make that very, very important part of the holiday when we're moving in. I want to be able to kind of sound a horn and have any available person that's at a computer that has fingers to type with jump on and help us kind of curb those contacts. And when you get that flash support team assembled, have that team just go over basic scenarios with you. Take a couple of hours, let them know what the common scenarios are. Go through those common contacts with them, teach them how to use the systems that they're unfamiliar with, and let them know that if they don't know the answer to a question, I always kind of use Olark in the background as a peer-to-peer chat too. So when they have that kind of private question that they need to ask you, like how do I complete this order, etc., they can just reach out to you directly and get an answer instantaneously. Also, communication is key. I would ask my team what their concerns are, the flash team and my regular team. As a manager, I'm sometimes disconnected from where my team is at, and sometimes I feel like I'm unaware of the simple daily stuff that I have the power to correct right away. So clearing out those roadblocks are key as you move into the holidays, and no one knows those roadblocks as well as your team. If you're a solo agent, I would recommend keeping a list of every minor problem you face and work with your company to get that list cleared off by the rush. Or what you consider the basics to be, kind of like review those again and ensure everyone is on the same page. Also, very importantly, I like to prime the pumps of communication. And what I mean by priming the pump of communication is kind of practicing and rehearsing for that all-hands scenario to make sure that all of my departments are communicating effectively. So, think ahead. Think, gosh, if the proverbial poop hits the proverbial fan, what are we going to do to deal with this situation effectively? Very important to rehearse scenarios, practice effective communication again and again and again and again. Effectively communicating with your customers is half the equation. Effectively communicating as a team is the other half. So make sure that you've got all of that communication ready to go. You're a well-oiled machine. That way, when the big surprise pops up, you will all be ready to deal with it at a moment's notice. Again, here I just said use Olark agent-to-agent chat for private real-time kind of questions. I would also recommend getting an internal chat room going for support. That's great for kind of like general Q&A and also huge for like triage. When, again, that big surprise pops up and the proverbial poop flies around the room, you've got a way to kind of deal with anything that pops up. You can get information out. It's kind of like an emergency broadcast system. You can do it without leaving your desk. It's great. All right. So now kind of into the nuts and bolts scheduling. For a typical high volume day, we usually like to start at 6 for East Coast coverage, and then we finish when the last ticket is solved. Sometimes that means a very long day. We usually have people on shifts. We usually have one big long shift, like I said, from 6 a.m. to finish. I'll try and scatter the start times just to avoid burnout and kind of keep overtime low. And then, of course, you always have your flash support team in the background ready to jump in when things get crazy. And I always let them know to be ready at a moment's notice. Come up with the bat signal, ring a bell, sound the alarm, blow a whistle, do something to let everyone know they're needed on chat. That's kind of your, on-call support. I use chat all day, every day as that backup. We actually found during Father's Day that the more people we had available on chat, the less phone calls came in. So it was actually a very good pressure release for the reps that were on the phone to have, the whole team on chat. It just worked out really, really well. It was amazing when we looked at the days we were available all day on chat and compared them to the days that we weren't. It was amazing to see the difference in the contact levels. Phone calls coming in, phone calls going to voicemail were both reduced by availability on chat. So that's really key, I think, to just have that flash support team ready to go. Things spike for us tend to be, they're scattered throughout the day when we get that communication spike. It's 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. Seem to be our spikes. And this seems to be when people are leaving work, coming to work, breaking for work. People like to browse man crates while they're at work and shop man crates while they're at work. I don't know if their bosses would like the fact that they were checking out our website while they're on the clock. And they seem to call when they're on breaks or when they've just gotten off work or they're leaving for their lunch, that kind of thing, to reach out to us. So the big spikes kind of coincide with the big work release times and arrival times. Also, too, spikes can happen with media hits, especially if you're a kind of an up-and-coming, startup. We had a lot of media hits last holiday season. We were on a couple talk shows and things like that. Those, the wave is coming. Those happen all day, every day. Also important to remember, if you're ever doing a media spot, even if it's a radio commercial or a radio bit, that they like to rerun those. Sometimes you don't get any advance warning on that. We learned that the hard way. So make sure that your marketing team is communicating with you regarding when things are going to be shown the first time and then when things are going to be shown or broadcasted repeatedly if they have that information. Very helpful in kind of getting ready for those spikes. So we try and kind of make sure that we've got coverage for those times. Of course, like keeping people spread out is difficult. You want to kind of combine your heat map with your sense of intuition. Heat map, where the burns are, where the most common areas of backlog happen. For us, our heat map glows red at like 9 a.m. That's our biggest time. So I try and really super overstaff 9 a.m. And then play it by gut the rest of the time. Your intuition will pay off, especially if you have experience with your customers and the influx of contacts. So pretty important, too, to think about while we're thinking about the fast times. Let's think about the slow time, too. You will inevitably have downtime during Cyber Monday. Hopefully, I wish nothing but relaxing downtime for you all. We know that this won't be the case. So when you do have a moment to yourself, I like to kind of take a little mini break at my desk, take some deep breaths, get up, get some coffee, make sure that you're completing any follow-up that you promised, and seek out updates on anything that you feel like needs to be communicated. Seek out updates that you can pass along and seek out those updates that are incoming from your team. Sometimes you miss those. Marketing has an update or tech has an update, and you're so caught up in the customer service realm that you forget to kind of take a peek out that window. That's a great time to look out the window, make sure the weather's good outside before you get back on the phone. It's a good time to make sure that you're fully aware of any updates or new information that's out there. So kind of looking back on Cyber Monday, it's easy to think about measuring success. As I'm moving through the day, I measure my success one call or one contact at a time. I'm not keeping an eye on how many calls are in queue or how long the wait time is. Of course, I glance at that. I need to know that leading a team, but I'm less concerned about that because I know everybody's full steam and full force ahead. So I kind of have this like one call at a time mentality, and I try and ingrain that in my team too. It's like, let's just get through this one, make sure this customer feels heard and important, and then as soon as you're done with that ticket, move into the next one with the same mentality. Just put your head down, really pay attention to that one customer without thinking of what comes before or what comes after. Just handle one call at a time. It helps you stay focused. You tend to not freak out as much. You know, when I look up and there's 100 things in the queue and I'm on the phone with a customer, I tend to get a little distracted. So I kind of just try and keep my head down, barrel through those moments, one call at a time. And I think that those smaller victories are key to maintaining sanity and motivation. You know, looking at a wall of contacts that's headed your way is discouraging. So knowing that your whole team is kind of getting to it one ticket at a time is great. The one set of 5 words I will never ever say at all costs is, I'll get to that later. You won't have later. Later you will be dealing with another customer. The time is now to take care of that customer. I've had balls fall through the cracks by saying, oh, I'll get to that later. I'll have plenty of time at 6 o'clock when the phones are slow and you know you're at your desk until 8 and you forget all about that customer you talked to at 6 in the morning that you said, oh, I'm definitely going to take care of this for you. So make sure that you view each ticket as a complete story from beginning to end to ensure that that follow-up is happening by never saying, I'll get to that later. Take action during the wrap process at the end of your contact if necessary. Never, ever, ever let something that you can do now wait, because chances are you're not going to get back to that. That's a lesson that I've definitely learned over the years dealing with holiday rushes.